In talking with other companies, and I've seen this in my own experience as well, there's been a model of you've got some level of developers that are spending the majority of their time in the open source ecosystem, right? Particularly on big dependency projects. And they're providing basically grease for the skids, for lack of a better term, of helping those product teams know how to articulate and how to position those changes that they need put in to an upstream project so that it's acceptable and most acceptable. And in some cases, right, creating that because they have the personal relationships with those that are maintainers or code owners in particular areas, it makes it much easier. Have you seen that strategy? I mean, I know you've got some folks at Amazon that spend a majority of their time in the upstream. And can you talk about their role and what they do for the product teams across that are trying to get things in for supportability and as well as, again, feature enhancements?
Absolutely. I think in certain core communities, Postgres comes to mind. I'm trying to think of a few other communities, Kubernetes, and a couple of other communities that are really, really important to our services. We've often, been lucky enough to hire maintainers in those communities. And their role is to mentor, other contributors to successfully work with those communities, get their commits accepted. It's also to do the hard work of fetching wood and chopping wood and fetching water, and to make sure that the project is sustained and is continuing to do the testing and the documentation and other things. So yes, I agree with you that it's a great role, and we have to then educate the managers of those maintainers to understand the talent, understand how they work, the fact that they'll be working mostly externally, and to make sure to make time and reward and develop those maintainers. Sometimes it's a role that's so unique and different than the traditional developer role, that role can get undervalued or not properly protected from an investment and in headcount perspective. So that's where we proactively are trying to work with HR to see if role guidelines need to be changed, or how do we equip managers with documentation and education on how to manage your maintainer and frequent contributor to open source.
I find it to be the same for new talent acquisition as well, right? To have HR be clueful that this is actually another asset, a strategic asset, that if somebody is engaged in a project, particularly one that we find interesting, it should rank them higher, right? As somebody that you would want to put into the company. Exactly.
I think the recruitment process is a hard one, because if you put your maintainer through a traditional developer process, they would not make it. And so we've been trying to kind of identify the right bar raisers in open source inside Amazon, who weigh in on new employees coming in, the right people for the interview loop, the right set of questions to ask, and then mapping the skill sets and the contributions of maintainers to role guideline, which traditional managers understand. And how to write a promotion document for a maintainer, right? How to write a performance appraisal, and what are the things to look for. So those are, they seem trivial, but they're so important to managing this critical talent of open source developers in the company.